All right, if you've spent any time at all inside a Google Ads account, you know the feeling. You see that little notification pop up, your optimization score starts climbing, and Google is, gently nudging you, hey, just click apply all. It's a debate that's been raging for years, and today we're going to dig right into it. Are Google's recommendations actually proof of a smarter way to advertise, or is it just propaganda?
I mean, this is the question, right? It's what keeps digital marketers up at night. Are these recommendations from Google a friendly guide, trying to lead us to better performance? Or are they kind of a self serving tool that's really just designed to get us to spend more money? For so long, we've basically had to operate on faith. But now, well, the game is starting to change.
And this quote right here just nails the core problem. The algorithm has its own logic for sure, but it doesn't have your business context. It sees you're not using broad match keywords and it flags that as an opportunity. But it has no idea that your specific niche requires like surgical precision. And that is the gap between the platform's logic and real-world results that has fueled so much of our skepticism. Okay, so to really appreciate Google's new solution, we have to first understand the old problem. And that problem is the optimization score. For years, this has been Google's go-to yardstick for what it considers a healthy account. But what does it really measure? Let's break it down. So here it is, straight from the horse's mouth. It's an estimate of your account's potential. A 100% score means, in theory, your account can perform at its full potential. Now that sounds great, right? But here's the catch. The road to 100% is paved with applying Google's recommendations, and that has always been the heart of the controversy. And then Google dropped this bombshell. At their 2024 conference, they made this huge claim that just a 10-point increase in your optimization score could lead to a 15% jump in conversions. Wow, that's a very specific and, let's be honest, a very tempting claim. It's totally designed to make you click that apply button without even thinking twice. And that is the billion-dollar question, isn't it? Well, lucky for us, an independent study from Optimizer dug into over 17,000 ad accounts, and what they found? It completely changed the conversation. Okay, now this is where it gets really fascinating. Just take a look at this data. Accounts with scores under 70, which Google would probably call unhealthy, actually had the best conversion rate. But, and this is a big but, accounts with a 90-plus score had a mind-blowing 186% better return on ad spend. So what on earth does this tell us? It tells us a high score doesn't guarantee every single metric gets better. It seems to be strongly connected to ROS, but not necessarily conversions. And here is the real kicker. That same study, it found that a staggering 95% of accounts do not accept Google's suggestions. Just let that sink in for a second. The overwhelming majority of professional advertisers have been actively saying no thank you to these recommendations. This proves that skepticism isn't just a hunch, it's literally standard operating procedure for most of us. So what's Google's take on all this? Well, their ads liaison, Ginny Marvin, clarified that the score itself doesn't actually affect your ad rank or how you do in the auction. She says it's a diagnostic tool, not a performance driver. The correlation exists, she argues, but it's not causation. In other words, a well-managed account will just naturally end up with a higher score, not the other way around. Okay, so faced with years of this data-backed skepticism, Google knew they had to do something. So they went and built something new. Let me introduce you to the Results tab, their big attempt to finally give advertisers the proof we've all been demanding. This is a fundamental shift in the power dynamic. It really is. No more just taking Google's word for it. No more relying on these vague forecasts. For the very first time, they are pulling back the curtain and showing you the actual hard data on what happened after you clicked apply. This is a big deal. So the magic behind this whole thing is a technique called counterfactual analysis. It's not just a simple before and after picture. What the Results tab does is create a what-if scenario. It models what it thinks would have happened if you had just done nothing. Then it compares that model to your actual results, trying to isolate the true impact of that one specific recommendation you applied. Pretty cool, right? And the process itself is pretty straightforward. First, you apply a budget or a target recommendation. Then, Google waits a week for things to settle down, and then it analyzes your performance over the next 28 days. Finally, you can go into the tab and see the comparison. Here's what actually happened versus what the model predicted would have happened. So, this all sounds like a dream come true, doesn't it? A whole new era of transparency and accountability. But does this new feature really deliver on that promise of proof? Or is it maybe just a more sophisticated way of saying, hey, just trust us? This slide just illustrates the whole paradigm shift perfectly. We're moving away from that old world of vague forecasts and that apply all anxiety we all feel. The new way is all about validating with actual data. It's about empowering us, the advertisers, to review the results and make informed, smart decisions. It's a seismic shift from faith to evidence.
And here we are, right back at the heart of the issue. This is the question that every single savvy marketer is asking themselves right now. The same system that makes the recommendation is also the system that's measuring its success. And that, my friends, is an inherent conflict of interest.
Yep, search engine land summed it up perfectly. Google has a very real vested interest in proving that its recommendations work. So while this new data is a huge, welcome step in the right direction, we still have to look at it with a healthy dose of skepticism. We have to ask ourselves, is this modeling truly objective, or could it be, unintentionally skewed to show a positive lift? So what's the bottom line here? Look, this tool has its limitations. It can't account for other changes you made to the campaign, or what your competitors are doing, or if you have a really long sales cycle. This isn't gospel truth, okay? It's just another data point, a very interesting one to add to your own analysis. Okay, we've dissected the tool, we understand its potential, and we are totally aware of its limitations. So now let's talk about what really matters, how you, the advertiser, can actually use this new information to get better results. It is time to build a new playbook. Here it is, your new 5-step playbook. First, and this is the most important one, never, ever trust blindly. Always test recommendations on a small scale first. Second, use this new Results tab as your secret weapon for validation. Third, keep a close eye on your real KPIs as your OptiScore goes up or down. Fourth, don't operate in a silo. You got to cross-reference Google's data with your own analytics and your CRM. And finally, the golden rule. Go into your settings right now and make absolutely sure auto-apply is turned off. You are the pilot of this ship, not the algorithm. And so at the end of the day, we're left with this question. The Results tab gives us more data than we've ever had before, but it also forces us to kind of redefine our role. Are we just here to rubber stamp what the algorithm decides? Or are we here to critically interpret this new layer of data and make smarter, more strategic choices? This tool doesn't give us the answer, but it definitely empowers us to find it for ourselves. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.